There is a special kind of pressure in professional tennis that has nothing to do with rankings, prize money, or playing in front of a packed stadium. It happens when the person standing across the net isn't somebody you dislike, but somebody you genuinely care about. Someone you've supported, someone who understands the grind, and someone whose success you can celebrate right up until the moment you're asked to beat them. That's exactly what makes the upcoming meeting between Iva Jovic and Eala so fascinating. On August 27 at Arthur Ashe Stadium during the US Open Stars of the Open exhibition, these two rising talents are set to share one of tennis's biggest stages. On paper, it's an exhibition showcase built around the next generation. Underneath that, though, there is a much richer story, two young competitors, described as close friends, with a recent history that gives Jovic a clear edge and Eala a very obvious reason to believe things could be different this time. Start with Iva Jovic. The 18-year-old American has already put together the kind of resume that gets the tennis world paying attention. According to the source material, she reached the Australian Open quarter-finals in 2026, becoming the youngest American to make the final 8 in Melbourne since Venus Williams in 1998. She climbed as high as world número 16, won her first professional title at the Ascension Project Women's Open, and established herself as one of the most exciting young American players coming through the WTA ranks. But there is one statistic that matters more than anything else for this particular matchup. Jovic is 2-0 against Eala. They met twice in a matter of weeks. Their first encounter came at the French Open in May, and Jovic controlled it from beginning to end, winning 6-2, 6-1. Then came Cain's Club in June. Eala had another shot, but Jovic did it again, this time 6-3, 6-4. 2 matches, 4 straight sets, 0 sets lost. Those numbers tell you Jovic wasn't simply getting lucky. She had found something in the matchup that worked. Her serve was finding the right spots and making life difficult for Eala on return. From the baseline, Jovic was aggressive enough to take time and space away from Eala's counter-punching game. Whenever Eala tried to establish a rhythm, Jovic seemed to have an answer. Despite being younger and relatively new to the professional level herself, she looked remarkably comfortable against Eala. If their August 27 meeting had happened immediately after Cain's, that 2-0 record might have felt like the entire story. But it is where things get interesting. According to the supplied story, Eala's career took off after that second loss. Since June, Eala is described as reaching the Washington Open final and winning her first WTA Tour title by defeating Jessica Pegula, becoming the first Filipina to capture a WTA singles championship. The source also credits her with reaching Wimbledon's 4th round and climbing inside the world's top 20. Those are major milestones, and more importantly, they would represent a serious jump in confidence and experience. Beating an established elite player like Pegula in a final would mean handling an entirely different kind of pressure. It's one thing to play fearless tennis when people call you a prospect. It's another thing to walk onto the court with a trophy on the line and finish the job against one of the game's established names. That kind of win can change how a young player sees herself. Then there is Wimbledon. Grass demands quick decisions, clean execution, aggressive movement and the ability to stay composed when points can turn in an instant. A 4th-round run there would suggest Eala's game was becoming more adaptable. She wouldn't simply be developing one formula that works under one set of conditions, she'd be learning how to adjust. And that's why the 2-0 head-to-head record is both important and potentially misleading. It happened. You can't erase it. Jovic figured Eala out twice, convincingly. But tennis players evolve fast, especially at this age. A matchup from May or June doesn't necessarily tell you what the same matchup looks like in late August. So when Eala walks into Arthur Ashe Stadium, the biggest question isn't whether she remembers those losses. Of course she does. The question is whether Jovic is about to face a version of Eala she hasn't seen before. And then you add another layer, friendship. According to the source material, Jovic and Eala are close friends. That changes the emotional flavor of the matchup completely. There is no need to manufacture some fake feud here. They can root for each other away from the court and still desperately want to win when the ball goes up. In fact, that might be one of the coolest things about this new generation of women's tennis. Rivalry doesn't have to mean hostility. You can text someone congratulations after a huge win and then try to run them off the baseline a week later. You can respect somebody's talent while searching relentlessly for their weaknesses. Friendship and competition aren't mutually exclusive, and Jovic and Eala represent that reality beautifully. The exhibition setting makes it even more intriguing. Stars of the Open isn't the same environment as a regular WTA tournament match with ranking points and prize money riding on every result. It's designed as entertainment and as a showcase of young talent. That could free both players up to swing bigger, experiment more, and give the Arthur Ashe crowd a little extra showmanship. For Jovic, it's another opportunity to remind everybody exactly how good she is. Her Australian Open run put her firmly on the radar, but the source notes that Eala's more recent success generated enormous attention. Facing Eala on a stage this big gives Jovic the perfect chance to put herself back at the center of the conversation. For Eala, the motivation is different. She has a chance to show that whatever happened in May and June doesn't define the player she is now. Even in an exhibition, getting another crack at somebody who has beaten you twice can tell you a lot about your progress. Has she found better answers on return? Can she keep Jovic from dictating from the baseline? Can she turn her recent confidence into a completely different kind of match? That's what fans should be watching. And this matchup fits into an even bigger story about where tennis is heading. The source describes a new generation coming from increasingly diverse backgrounds, Jovic as an American prodigy, Eala as a Filipina who developed at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, Brazilian Joao Fonseca breaking through on the ADP side, and American learner Tian emerging as another young talent. These players represent a sport becoming more global and more diverse while its future stars are arriving younger than ever. That's ultimately what Stars of the Open is celebrating. It isn't only about who wins an exhibition. It's about giving fans an early look at athletes who could shape tennis for years to come. So when Jovic and Eala step onto Arthur Ashe Stadium on August 27, there are several stories happening at once. There is the obvious competitive question, can Eala finally change a matchup that has gone decisively Jovic's way twice? There is the friendship question. What does full-on professional competition look like when the opponent is somebody you actually like? And then there is the future of tennis question, could we be watching the early chapters of a rivalry that follows these two players for years? Based purely on their previous meetings, Jovic has every reason to feel confident. Based on the trajectory described in the source, Eala has every reason to believe the past doesn't have to repeat itself. And maybe that's what makes this matchup worth watching. Nobody needs to invent bad blood. Nobody needs some dramatic controversy. Two friends, two rising stars, one iconic stadium, and unfinished business from their first two meetings, that's plenty. Now the court gets to tell us the rest of the story. Will Jovic's tactical edge hold up for a third time, or will Eala show just how much she has changed since June? And when close friends become opponents under the lights of Arthur Ashe, can friendship survive the competitive fire without either player holding back? Drop your prediction in the comments, hit the like button if you enjoy deeper stories from the tennis world, subscribe for more US Open coverage, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next for this new generation of stars.